I'm Sarina Fazan, taking a risk, making a difference, and changing the course of your life. Remarkable stories from people defying the odds. You're listening to On the Record. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarina Fazan, a journalist, producer, and the host of On the Record. Thank you so much for joining me for this podcast episode. It's an exciting one. It's a milestone, and I'm so excited. I am joined here with South Tampa's Dream Dermatologist team, South Tampa Dermatology. I'm going to have you guys introduce yourself. And one of my besties, Debra Schrils, who gets to benefit from this whole partnership because you are one of my girlfriends. So the big announcement is they've been taking care of our skin. Mm-hmm. And our skin looks fabulous.
Cheers.
Cheers to you.
Staci and Dana.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We did not. Perfect.
Cheers.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's get started because I just said Staci and Dana. I didn't even introduce you guys. Please introduce yourselves. Tell us what you do at South Tampa Dermatology.
My name is Dana Hess. I'm a physician assistant at South Tampa Dermatology. I've been there since 2 babies ago, 2013, and I love making people feel wonderful and making their skin feel great.
And you are gorgeous.
Thank
so
you.
clearly, when we look at your skin, we know that you know what you're doing.
Thank you. It's been a work in progress.
Right?
And Dana, Staci, same with you. So you tell us what you do.
Yes. So my name is Staci Burley. I've been at South Tampa Dermatology on and off for about 11 years now. I do laser hair removal, and then we do facials, extractions like chemical peel. So again, having people feel comfortable in their skin, not having to use as many filters, being happy with going out with just sunscreen on every day to protect their skin and be beautiful.
Not having to use as many filters.
Yes.
I love that.
So Deb, they have been
Speaking of filters.
Well, the dream team, the dermatologist dream team has certainly been taking care of my skin, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But tell us about you. First of all, introduce yourself, other than just being one of my besties.
My name's Debra Schrils. I am a friend of Sarina's. We worked together for many, many years at Channel 28, and we've been friends. Like twice we worked together.
Yes.
So we've been great friends. And you asked me if I would be willing to be like the guinea pig, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
Absolutely. So I've really just had the greatest time. I've spent a little bit of time at South Tampa Dermatology, and they have just taken great care of my skin. And what I love is, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, at some point, they actually, one of the things that they can do is take a picture of your skin and tell you the age of your skin. And the second time I went and had it done, like within, I think it was maybe 6 weeks, my skin actually reversed in age 5 years.
Gosh.
And that was just a matter of weeks. Mm-hmm. So I love that. Because that's what it's all about. It's all about, making your skin appear younger than it is.
So Dana or Staci, can you explain what we're talking about? It's the Visia,
Yes.
right?
So
can you explain that?
Yep. The Visia is a skin analysis. Every patient that comes in for a cosmetic consult, that's where we start. You wash your face, make sure it's gently cleansed, remove all the dirt, oil, sunscreen, makeup, things that can cause problems on the surface of the skin. And then we take the Visia picture, and it's an analysis that shows your skin what's on the surface and what's underneath. And it helps me dictate in which direction I feel like I need to take someone's skin.
And it's horrifying, by the way.
It is. I always tell people it's gratifying yet horrifying because you see all the damage you've accumulated
All the sun
over
damage,
time.
really.
Exactly.
But it also gives you that drive to want to make your skin better. It gives you that, okay, I can deal with the peeling. I can deal with the little bit of irritation to kind of get you through that first couple weeks of, skincare routines where, it is a routine.
And it's an objective picture. So it's not, you looking at your skin saying, oh, I think it looks better. No, it's an objective analysis, and it shows.
You know what? I love that. That's right.
Yep.
Because so many people have asked me, like, after you did this procedure, could you tell a difference? And I said, yeah, I can. But then I think, gosh, maybe I'm biased. I'm looking for something.
Right.
But that's an actual objective picture that looks at it. And you can see, it actually, pinpoints different issues that you have.
Exactly. It helps me dictate, like I said, which direction I need to take people's skincare, whether or not they'd benefit more from products or lasers or chemical peels or a combination. So I'm more of a combination approach, and I feel like skincare is individualized. So what I put you on might not be the same as what I put Sarina on.
Right.
So it just...
Which is true, because we did different procedures.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And we should note the practice Dr. Linda Flynn, of course, is the dermatologist at the practice. And she said, she and her husband Jim said, but we want members of our dermatologist dream team to be on. So not even, taking the credit or recognition. There's just such a great business.
It really is.
Here in
It's
Tampa.
a great organization, and whenever I walk in, I always feel, it's
So welcome.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
wonderful by all of you guys. But back to back to what we were talking about. I just wanted to mention that for sure. But back to what we were talking about. So when you guys saw our pictures, you put us each on different type of procedures. Can you talk about some of the stuff that you've done for us?
So when you first came in, we started with a little bit of injectables.
Loved it.
I'm pretty conservative in that I never want people to look different than their normal selves. I just want people to look like a better version of their regular self. And my philosophy is if your skin is in good shape, it's healthy, it's nice and glowy, you need less of the injectables, you need less filler, you need less Botox, though I feel that that stuff is important too. So Sarina came in and we started with a little bit of Botox just to soften. And then we did the Visia, and the Visia showed, pigmentation. So you had some hyperpigmentation, a little bit of texture, some minor issues that would benefit by a good skincare regimen. And then we followed that up with IPL treatment about 4 to 6 weeks later. We keep in mind that, your skin, you're a little darker complected, so we needed to pre-treat with a certain topical prescription prior to doing any type of laser so that it was safe. But I was able to do IPL treatment on you to address that pigment safely.
Well, you know what I'm going to tell the team, which is kind of cool. I think we should put some pictures over what we're talking about right now because we have video of all of this. Right. And I have Gabriel Guerrero here and Ian Tangler, who are the producers of this podcast. So let's put pictures over it, and show them, what we're talking about.
Perfect.
So speaking of my more darker and olive skin, that's what Dr. Flynn told me as well, too, that sometimes skin like mine can be harder to treat. Why is that?
You have more melanin in your skin naturally. So sometimes certain lasers that are seeking, or lasers or laser lights that are seeking pigment in the skin, we don't want them to pick up on your normal melanin and cause post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation or cause any scabbing or blistering. So we need to tailor the settings to your specific skin type so that it's only targeting abnormal pigment in the skin.
Right. And what about like if you have Deb skin type? Is that easier? I mean, is it more easy or?
I mean, I don't want to say easier because you still got great results with your treatments, but
her skin doesn't tend to get inflamed as easy. That could cause darkness or lighter marks from a laser. So sometimes she might be able to get where she wants a little faster sometimes because you can turn up the settings a little bit more to where with darker skin types, sometimes we have to do lower settings. So you might need an additional 1 or 2 treatments compared to lighter skin that sometimes you can knock out in 1 or 2 treatments.
That's interesting. Now, do you notice that someone that has darker skin tones like Sarina has typically less sun damage because they have more natural melanin? I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know anything about skin, but I just assume that darker skin people don't have sun damage like lighter skin people do.
It depends a lot. There's a genetic component too.
Right.
So if mom or dad, tend to freckle or have hyperpigmentation, I see dark skinned people that have freckles and abnormal pigment. They're like, this pigment has to go. So their pigment is just maybe deposited differently or doesn't show up until later on. Whereas fair-skinned people, who accumulate, more sun damage over time, might show it on the surface faster.
So the bottom line is it's just very individualized based on each person, which is so nice about the Visia because you can look at it and see what their issues are and then target it based on that.
And people with dry skin, I take a different approach than people with oilier skin. So I have a wide range of products that I can use based on people's skin.
And Staci, and I wanted to ask you guys both this as we're talking because my mind is racing. Like Staci, you actually did a facial on my Sammy, and your little Sammy too, because she considers Deb a second mom, so she's 13 years old. Girls, like how early should girls start? I mean,
and it's not even girls, to be honest. Like with the practice, they treat acne patients, so they refer them to myself to kind of get them started with some extractions to kind of get some of the pores cleaned out, get that little dead layer of skin out, kind of help dry up the oil with maybe a lighter chemical peel, some extractions, getting them kind of prep to start the prescription products, things like that, so that they don't get as irritated, or they don't kind of start their products and then say, oh my gosh, I'm red, I'm irritated, then they stop using them. So we kind of try to go through it with them.
And it is
prepped.
not just girls. I mean, my son, when he was maybe 16.
And how old are your sons again? Connor and Carson. You have 2 boys.
I do.
They're adorable.
My youngest is 20. And my older one turns this weekend 26.
Wow, adorable.
But anyway, when my younger one was 16, he had his first like teen facial and absolutely loved it.
Yeah. The moms will bring them in because they're like, I want to pick their face, but they won't let me, so they'll let you. So they come in, and they come in. But the kids love it. You know, I have football players, soccer players that they break out when they're working out all the time, and you know, they come in and we get them through that 6 weeks and kind of help them get self-confidence back because they're not breaking out as much, and you know, they seem to love it. So
yeah, and truly, I mean, what a great habit to start at a young age, taking care of your skin, right?
Yep.
Let me tell you what, that's
preventative
something that
is,
I really didn't do.
I didn't either, and I wish I had.
When I was younger, I did not take good care of my skin at all. It wasn't really until I got into television, and I'm in television, and I see all these other girls who are like 10 years younger than me that are spending all this time on their skin, and I'm like, oh, maybe that's something that I should do. And that's when I realized, you know, what the heck am I doing? So I had to really play a lot of catch up.
I tell everyone all the time, sun exposure is cumulative. I'm like, every single time you're out, since the day you're born, your body doesn't forget it. So, you know, 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there, 15 minutes walking to and from, you know, make sure you put your sunscreen on every day because it adds up.
Right. It's easier sometimes to prevent than it is to correct.
Course, absolutely.
So teaching everyone now, prevent. It's going to save you in the long run, like, you know, time, money, and just literally your skin.
Yep.
And that's what I try to tell Sammy all the time, honestly. But again, she is at that age, 13 years old, and I remember that, you know,
Of course.
I want to go to the beach, you know.
Right.
She said to me the other day, she'd kill me if I said mommy, so she calls me mama. She's like, what's wrong with putting baby oil on my skin? And I said, trust me, girl, there is something wrong
Girls
with
are
it.
still doing that?
They are still doing that. I know. You know, I couldn't believe it, like being in this teen world, right?
Yes.
Like, yes. And I'm like, no, trust me, you do not want to do that. But speaking of the wonderful things that you've done for us, talking about the products, like those ZO products.
Yep.
Will you talk about that a little bit? Don't you love them, Deb?
Absolutely love them.
I have been on this regiment that you put me on for a couple months. Honestly, my skin has never looked better. I love to take videos with no makeup or anything because I feel my skin is radiating and glowing. And I credit, of course, your team at South Tampa Dermatology, but those ZO products as well.
Yep, they're from Dr. Obagi, Zen Obagi. He's based in Beverly Hills, California. He had his original line, sold that, formed this new line called ZO, still his name. Great products. He has ranging from hydroquinone, which smashes pigment and gets rid of the abnormal melanin in the skin, to rosacea-prone skin, which the products aren't as aggressive because people with rosacea tend to have more sensitive skin. He's got vitamin C, he's got retinols, he's got antioxidants, a whole host of products, and then we combine them typically with retinoids. So if people come in and let's say pigment is their issue, initially we'll put them on one of the more aggressive regimens at first, just to slough off that top layer of the skin and shut down the abnormal melanocytes, which are the pigment producing cells. We do that for a few months. You don't want to stay on them long term. One, you don't want to develop a resistance to the hydroquinone. Two, they're just, you know, there's no long-term study. So typically I don't like patients on it long term. So I do it for about 4 to 6 months and then transition people over to antioxidants. And if you're acne prone or texture issues, I keep you on a Retin-A. So it just depends on your skin and how your visio looks after the treatment phase. And, you know, and then I add in chemical peel versus, you know, you had radiofrequency microneedling called Fractora. That's one of my favorite devices.
Talk about that a little bit, because that was, to me, fascinating. Like, I didn't understand what was going on.
I know.
But I will say that I really saw a great result, and I thought that my skin looked so much better, when I recovered from that. And it was it was not a horribly invasive procedure or anything. So talk about that a little bit.
I'm glad you liked that. So it's called Fractora. The device is made by InMode, and what it is it's radio frequency microneedling. So if you think of microneedling, it's got a plate and it's got 24 pins, and then there's a handpiece that has 60 pins. The 24 pin handpiece goes a little deeper, and then when I step on my lovely aggressive foot pedal, it sends energy through all of those pins. That's ablating the dermis, which is the second layer of your skin. So it leaves the epidermis intact. So it's very safe. I can treat light skin, I can treat darker skin with a certain coated handpiece. So it's very safe. Causing trauma to the dermis will then stimulate your body's own collagen. So makes new fibroblasts.
And that's what I love about it, is that it's actually making your own body do the work.
Correct.
So and this is totally layman's term, but it injures, I guess, the skin underneath.
Correct.
And then it stirs up the collagen, makes your body want to make more collagen.
Exactly. Yep. And I use that in conjunction.
A very layman term.
There's a product called Elastin.
You don't work in dermatology.
I know. No, that's how you think of it.
That's
Cause
actually,
trauma, build back up.
Exactly.
That's how wounds heal.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's exactly. So you think the scab, that's how it heals. So so I love that device.
You guys are great and have done so many wonderful procedures. And so we're going to go to a break really quickly. And we have a huge treat, because I think this is always so much fun. We are going to actually show you a couple of these procedures. Dana and Staci are going to perform a procedure on Debra and on myself.
And if you're listening and not watching, then Sarina will definitely talk you all through it and tell you what's happening.
Absolutely. And the girls will talk. You guys will talk us through it.
Definitely.
So let's do another toast before we go to the break. South Tampa Dermatology.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
We love, looking ageless. Awesome. We'll be right back. I'm Sarina Fazan, and like most people, my skin is a priority. When you look good, you feel good. That's why I turned to South Tampa Dermatology, a full-service medical and cosmetic dermatology practice. Dr. Flynn and her dream team offer the products, services, and procedures I need to keep my skin healthy so I can perform at my very best. And they can do that for you too. It's affordable, and your confidence is priceless. Just head to stderm.com or call 813-872-9551 to make an appointment. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to this very special podcast with the dream team at South Tampa Dermatology. I'm so excited. Staci and Dana are back, and of course, my bestie, one of my besties. Of course.
I know you have several.
Well, I always say that. I'm always saying that. I love this girl. Are you kidding? And she gets to benefit from South Tampa Dermatology because you are one of my girlfriends.
Let me tell you what, that is quite a benefit, I have to say. I have really reaped the benefits of South Tampa Dermatology.
Well, we love it, and I love that you're here because you're going to act in my role as the journalist today as I get Botox.
That's right. I don't want to say you're the guinea pig because you're the model. You're the model, right? That's right.
I love that. I'm the model.
Isn't that fantastic?
Okay. Guys, thank you so much. This is so exciting, and we're actually going to show you the process.
Yeah, the whole process. Now, we've got Dana and Staci, both from South Tampa Dermatology. As they're doing this, I'm going to ask her what they're doing. I'm going to ask questions about Botox and hopefully cover everything that you might be curious about. So, Staci, I know you're going to start prepping her, so tell me what you're going to be doing.
So first we're going to kind of prep the skin with an alcohol swipe, kind of gets all the dirt oils and kind of sanitizes her skin before we do in the injections.
And I don't have any makeup on except for a little bit of lipstick and mascara.
And that's okay.
Okay.
Okay, now while you're doing that, I'm going to ask Dana a couple questions because there may be people that have never had Botox before, or there may be someone like me who resisted it for many, many years because I just wasn't that familiar with it. What do you do when someone comes into your office for the first time, has never had Botox? What do you do and how do you give them a consultation?
I love when patients come in and they're Botox newbies. They're my favorite patients because they come in and they don't know what to expect. They're a little bit nervous, a little bit apprehensive. I kind of walk them through it. I hand them a mirror and I ask them what their goals are. What would you like to achieve? Botox can do many things. It can freeze the muscles. It can soften the muscles. So it kind of depends on, it changes based on every client. So,
and it is really different when you said based on every client, based on what they want to do. Maybe somebody doesn't want to get rid of all of their expression. Maybe someone's an actor. I know I've heard actors don't necessarily like to get rid of all of their expression lines, so to speak. But I know everyone has kind of a different goal, right?
Exactly. Like for myself, I don't like my crow's feet. That bothers me the most. I always like to knock my crow's feet out. My forehead, I like to have a little bit of expression, and I treat everyone that way. It's an individualized procedure.
Well, that brings up a good question, though. For me, what would your recommendation be for me? Because as you guys know, I host this podcast, on the record with Sarina Fazan. I am a speaker and an MC. I still do things that are very familiar to what I did when I was a local TV anchor sharing stories for companies. And I'm also now so blessed, right, but to be on the national spotlight, like weighing in on national shows and producing. So what do you recommend for me and what should I do?
That's a good question. Because you're in the public and you're very expressive, you don't want to lose all of that expression. So you might be the type of client who needs to come in more frequently but get less units per treatment. So, some people come in and we knock it all out and they're good for, 4 to 6 months. Other people have to come in more frequently because we're not doing as much Botox because you want to have a little bit of expression.
Okay, let's talk about when you should start doing Botox, because I've heard of these girls in their 20s doing Botox as a preventative measure, which let me tell you what, I waited until I was much older than that. And the question, and then my second question is, can you be too old to start?
I'll answer the first question. Staci can answer the second. I tell people start doing Botox when you start noticing lines of expression at rest. So obviously throughout the day, your muscles are going to be moving. If at the end of the day you're noticing some lines that are permanently etched, or people tell me often my makeup, just gets in the lines and, I see them. Those are the people that I'm like, well, you might want to consider doing some Botox because it will help prevent the lines from deepening. Because we're kind of training the muscles not to contract. So.
Okay, and then Staci, now who is going to, Dana, you're going to be doing the injections, right? Yes. So do you want to start the injections while Staci answers my question about whether that you can be, for lack of a better term, too old to start Botox? All right, so you have tell us a little bit about the product that you're using, Dana, before we go back to the age question.
So I'm using branded Botox. It's owned by Allergan. It's been on the market for, 2001? When was the FDA approval? Yep, 2001. So it's been on the market a long time, and it's very popular in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and so what are you going to be working on first?
I'm going to inject her glabella first, which is this muscle right here that's strong in a lot of people. So that muscle's a depressor, meaning that the muscle wants to pull down. So when people frown or when you're thinking or when you're straining to see against the sun, that muscle pulls down. So when you inject there, it actually lifts.
Now, is that also like my biggest problem the first time I ever got Botox was I had what they called an 11,
yes,
which were the two lines. Is that the area that you're talking about?
Yes, that is that muscle.
Okay. All right. Well, go ahead and do that.
I was going to say, I can kind of narrate as she's doing it. So what she's already had Sarina kind of mapped out her plan before we started filming today. So what she does is she will measure.
Frown for me?
I was going to say she's probably going to have her do it.
Relax.
So we have.
Wait a minute. Hold 1 second. I got to ask Sarina, since you're doing this, tell us what this feels like.
Actually, I say no pain, no gain, friends. No pain, no gain.
But it's not bad.
Bring it on, and it's not. It really isn't. I guess, but this is a good question, Deb, because some people I've heard do what is that called? They put a cream on.
They put a numbing cream on.
Cream on.
Listen, we've gone through childbirth. Friends. This is
Well, and I will say the one thing about Botox is it is not a lasting pain. It is a very, very quick little pinch.
comparing it to childbirth is honestly way too much.
Yeah, don't even put that in the same conversation. Okay, let's go ahead and continue narrating what she's doing.
So what she's doing is she's kind of having her make that muscle flex, and then she's going to actually pinch it and then inject it. So I kind of numbered them for you. Perfect. So what she's going to do is do one side then the other. So you'll see her kind of have her frown so that she kind of is moving that muscle. Then she's going to kind of grab it and then inject straight into the muscle.
Now, what does actually do to the muscle?
So it takes about 24 or 48 hours for everything to kind of get in there, settle, and then it takes about 7 to 10 days for most people to start seeing results. Full effect is about 2 weeks, we say. What that's doing is kind of helping relax the muscle. So as she goes to strain, it's going to kind of try to block that out a little. And for her, I was going to say, yeah.
Well, okay, if you can make the scientific answer in layman's terms.
Yes. So what the toxin is doing is it's binding to that muscle receptor and preventing it from firing. Okay. So normally when you make the expression lines, your body releases something called acetylcholine. This blocks that, so you're not able to fire the muscle.
All right, and let's go back to, I want to follow up with something you said. It is not instantaneous.
Correct. Some people will come in and want it kicked in that day. Unfortunately, Botox takes a little time. So we usually say best time to do Botox is 2 to 3 weeks before an event, because sometimes you may need a little touch-up. Sometimes foreheads, one side may lift a little higher than the other. That's completely normal. Our foreheads nobody's is exactly the same from one side to the other. So sometimes we do a touch-up about 2 weeks after, especially your initial time of Botox. Once we kind of have you mapped out, it's a little more consistent, but our bodies are always changing. Our faces and wrinkles are always changing. We may need to add some, take some away. It just kind of depends on each patient.
Okay, let's talking about, what you're doing now.
So right now she's treating the crow's feet. So she's having her smile so she can see exactly where the wrinkles are. So she can actually inject right around that muscle there. And so that when she does smile, it will help exactly where the lines are.
Are you having any pain?
No, Dana, when you were talking earlier about the crow's feet, this is what I'm the most excited about too, because I'm very self-conscious of my crow's feet.
Yep.
So I'm really excited about this.
Yep.
And I have to say, the thing about Botox, because I'm one of those people who want to see instant results, and I know that you can't, but what I love about Botox is I'll get it done, and then I'll forget about it because I can't see the results. And then all of a sudden one day, like a week or sometimes 2 weeks, I'll look in the mirror and I'll say, oh my God, I look fantastic. And then I realize it's because that's when the Botox kicked in.
Something we also tell patients, after you get the treatment, we want you to kind of wink, smile, raise your eyebrows. It does tend to get into the receptive muscles a little faster. We also tell patients you don't want to touch it, massage it, anything like that for the next 24 hours until everything kind of gets in there and stays where it wants, because you can actually move the Botox if you force it to try to get it out of the muscle.
So also in the same vein, you don't want people doing vigorous exercises afterwards, right?
Right.
I tell people no yoga, no shoe shopping, nothing where your head would be correct. So you want to keep your head. Right. I use those specific examples. So you want to keep your head elevated above your heart.
Okay, and let's talk about what, I know that every person is different, but can she go out and, go do her normal day now? Is this something that people are like, oh, no, I've got to go home?
Nope, it's a literal lunchtime procedure. You come in, you leave. I mean, there is a risk of bruising anytime I stick a needle in someone's face. There's a risk of bruising, but for the most part, it's well tolerated. People get up, they walk out.
Tiny little red bumps.
Yep, exactly. I mean, we can ice it if the patient swells or if they look like they're getting a little bruised, but for the most part, I mean, I think Sarina will be fine.
All right.
The question too.
Well, you're done, so you can take the microphone back over.
I actually love having it.
I am enjoying it too.
This is warming my heart. I love this girl, and I love South Tampa Dermatology, and it's a great moment for me. So thank you again for being here.
Oh, of course.
But so yes, I like being interviewed because it's kind of nice, like to switch things around. Right. But I do have a question. So with me, what we talked about earlier on what I'm doing. So when should I have Botox again? Like how many months? But also for say. Okay, granted, Deb and I might be in an unusual situation where we're on camera a lot more or something, but for the average person too, like, well, and I know everybody's different.
Yep. It lasts about 3 months. I always tell people plan for the same way you get your hair done. If you want it looking nice for this occasion, one time it might be 3 months, the next time it might be 4.5 months before you get it done again. So it depends on you. I have patients who come in every 3 months to the day, and then I have other patients who kind of stretch it out a little bit.
And for you, she did a little lighter because you want to still be expressive. So we more softened yours instead of actually blocking everything out. So yours might actually tend to come back a little sooner because we didn't actually knock everything out. We tried to just soften. And that's, the answer to your question earlier. Are you too old to get Botox?
Yes,
no.
Oh, that's right. I'm glad you remembered to circle back to that.
So, no, you're never too old to get Botox. It's kind of one of those things, obviously, the sooner you start, the less wrinkles you're going to have. So when you come in with a patient who, is 25 or 30, they're going to need a lot less Botox. Their muscles are kind of, they're weaker. They haven't been binding for years. So will you see as much of a benefit if you have deep wrinkles versus less wrinkles? No. But over time, it will help soften them. So the answer would be no, you're never too old, but you're not going to get as drastic of a huge result if your lines are deeper and thicker. If we try to explain to patients, if you take a piece of paper and you bend it, over years, that's what's happening to your wrinkles. You're creasing, so that crease is going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. So it's going to take more time to get that smoothed out. The older you are and the more wrinkles that you're causing on a daily basis.
Now, can you also use filler to help with that too in some areas, maybe to plump up certain areas that need that to get rid of those wrinkles as well?
It depends on the area and it depends on the filler. So the forehead, the horizontal lines, there's not really a great filler that you can go and fill all those lines. If you've got a few superficial lines, filler's good for that. You can put filler in the deeper glabellar grooves, but you have to be more careful with filler. It's in a different plane, it's in a different injection. There's some blood vessels you need to be, careful of and leery of. I'm going to nerd out and quote one more study that's really cool.
Yes.
So there was a head-to-head study of twins, one who started receiving Botox in her 20s and the other who hadn't started Botox until her 40s.
Wow.
Yes. So at rest, the one who had started Botox earlier on had less resting facial wrinkles than the one who didn't get Botox until her 40s.
Well, that makes sense.
There's the whole treatment and prevention.
Yes.
So, it was really cool one.
Interesting. Well, as we close this portion of one of many podcasts, I hope, or presentations, this is a great gift, don't you think? I feel like as women, we get, and especially at our age or even younger, as we talked about, but what a great gift to give somebody. Wouldn't you encourage, and do men get Botox? I guess men do get Botox, men get Botox as well, but it's a great gift, right? And South Tampa Dermatology is right there. You guys, we follow you, of course, on Instagram and all your social media channels, and I feel like you guys have a lot of great deals out there.
Yep. We run specials. Exactly. You can get gift cards, purchase gift cards for friends and family, and we'll do promotions. So, check us out on our Instagram page.
I will say, I know sometimes people think, oh, I don't want to spend the money on myself. So it's nice when you have somebody who buys it for you.
A gift and a gift for you, a gift for yourself. I mean, whatever,
it's a self-confidence boost for a lot of
absolutely.
people too. So,
Absolutely. Well, we loved having you guys on. Thank you so much. And, a personal thanks to Jim and Dr. Linda Flynn for, having the faith in me. Letting me be the face of South Tampa Dermatology. Yes. And you too, Deb.
Absolutely. I know this afternoon I'm going to get microneedling with radio frequency, right? Yes. So excited about that. So that's, another thing. We talked about that a little bit earlier, so I'm excited about that.
The first part of this podcast. Yep. Thank you so much, everybody. You're welcome. And that brings us to the end of another episode of On the Record. Thank you so much again to South Tampa Dermatology. Hope you can join us next time, and make sure to follow us on all our social media channels. Thanks again, everybody, and thanks for your support.